So we're going through the Huguenot Tunnel, and this is in the wine parlance in South Africa, we talk about being on this side of the mountain or that side of the mountain. And when you go through the tunnel, you go on that side of the mountain. Now on that side of the mountain, you've got completely different soil. The soil is not only much older, but it's also completely different in structure. And as you get through the tunnel, you'll see these wonderful large expanses of alluvial soil, old riverbed where you get very high yields, and then as you go up onto the sides of the very steep mountains, you get old decomposed granite going back 2,000-3,000 million years old. And that's where you really get your concentrated flavors. This is the tunnel. When they made this tunnel, it was quite exciting because as they blasted through, they found that the granite was so old and decomposed. They didn't expect it to be so friable, and that gives you a sense of the soil that you get.
I've been here before. I recognize this place. It is one I've always known. Shining new and old as stone. Been waiting for some time. It's been coming on.
We get Sauvignon from here for Fishhook and for Kamala. Okay, so this is a farm called Silkbush. We're in the Bredderkloof Valley, and you'll see the vineyards behind me stretching right up onto the mountain. Those vineyards right at the top. The very top block is our writer's block Pinotage, which we're going to go and check today. We reckon it'll probably come off in about 4 or 5 days' time. So I just want to check the sugar and taste the fruit, really crunch the tannins up and the skin and just see how they're tasting. Because not only do you want sugar ripeness, but you also want tannin and color ripeness. Obviously, particularly for a wine like Writer's Block, which is, we really try and get nice dark color and very soft tannins at the same time as ripe fruit flavors. And anyway, it's a beautiful farm. It's very isolated here, so there's a very low disease pressure, and it's farmed by a guy called Anton Roos, who's a really good farmer.
Because of the soil, we get a natural lower yields, lower growth, less vigor, and it's natural. So we don't come in here and we cut away a lot of canopy and that type of thing. It's a natural growth, natural vigor, and that's what I believe is positive for high quality. And the other thing is uniformity in the block is also very important. So yeah.
So it's out of the traditional wine growing area for that sort of really high quality wine, but we absolutely love it. We think that some of the best quality in the Western Cape comes off this farm, and so we take Pinotage, we take Merlot, we take Cabernet, we take Shiraz, and we also buy a little bit of Viognier, which is also right at the very top of the mountain, a fantastic little block. It's a farm which is quite exposed to all sorts of threats like baboons. They come down off the mountain and are pretty hectic and aggressive in the amount of fruit that they destroy. And they can actually destroy vines as well, just rip them apart. I've just got a text through. So on Apple's Drift, it's 22.8 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning. Relative humidity is 59%. The wind is at 6.1 kilometers per hour, and it's coming from the east, which is about right today. I've just looked at my little camera here in the car, and it's 22 degrees here. So pretty much the same climate. It's very unusual for it to be so similar so far north, because we're a good 250 or so kilometers north of Apple's Drift, and normally you'll find a huge variation in temperature. Sometimes it can be as much as 10 degrees difference between Apple's Drift and Stellenbosch, and then sometimes this is even cooler. So this can be 3 degrees cooler than Stellenbosch because of the elevation and also the shadow that the mountain creates. You can see how tall and kind of majestic they are here. Okay, we're just pulling up to the Writer's Block vineyard on our right, and a beautiful block of Merlot high up in the mountains here, which we get, and I've got my viticultural wingman, Chris Keat. Okay, so we're in the Merlot block on Silkbush. I almost said Malbec. We also take Malbec from this farm, which is just down the hill here. And the quality, up here on the mountainside is fantastic because of the soil type. I'm here with Chris, who hasn't been properly introduced. So Chris Keat is my viticultural wingman, but he also is involved all the way through the process and does a lot of tasting with us. Chris has just tasted the Merlot. We've just arrived. Chris, what's it tasting like this year?
I think these grapes are looking stunning this year. There's a lovely crispness about the berries and very nice flavors. Typically Merlot the grapes don't have a huge amount of flavor as they ripen, but these are showing nice sort of herbaceous flavors, very small berries, which is always a great sign for us. That means concentration of color, concentration of flavors, of acids, and no, they're looking very nice. And there's a what is exciting this year is the fact that the tannins seem to be ripening very much in sync with the increase in the ripening of sugars and the developing of the sugar. So I think I'm quite optimistic that this year we might be producing premium quality but at lower alcohol levels, and that's exciting.
It's very, I mean, Merlot does give you color, but it's just already
Beautiful.
At this sugar level, wonderfully dark and purple, and very delicious.
Very nice.
I think it's delicious. We had a great Merlot year, 2008, didn't we?
8 was a brilliant one, yeah.
Yeah, but this is as good as 08.
Yeah.
So another, but this is, and I remember tasting this block, and I ate with you and thinking,
Yes.
when we came up here with the kids,
Yeah.
and it was delicious. So, and I don't think it's tasted as good as this since then.
This is very exciting. Yeah.
And this goes into, we blend a little bit of this into Dragon Tree, and we also blend a little bit of it into Musicru, just a few percent. And it just helps give it another dimension of color, of flavor, and a little bit of softness. So it's really fills out the palate nicely. Okay, head off to writer's block. And just if I hoot, will you come and pull me out, please, in your Subaru? Okay, so right up at the very top of the writer's block. So just on the other side of this row, we've got an electric fence to try and keep out baboons, and we're right up against the mountain slope. We're at about almost 500 meters above sea level here. So when you see this in a vineyard, it's obviously the sign that there's been a baboon, because the vine itself, the cane itself has been damaged. You can see there down here. It's actually been physically broken, and you can see that the grapes have been stripped off. So you'll see along here, particularly right up at the top of the block, this is a big problem. They just jump over the electric fence, and despite the fact that we've got cannons going off and all sorts of other mechanisms to try and scare them away, Pinotage is probably the most delicious eating grape of any wine grape in the world, and baboons are obviously quite partial to the flavors, as are we. So this is one of the many factors that we have to deal with up here.
They actually run a path down the hill here, and that's why we've got this these prisms which kind of tries to keep them away, but they still manage to get in. And it's amazing, they prefer Pinotage above anything else. They'll come through the Merlot, through the Sauvignon Blanc, and not eat anything, and they come and eat the Pinotage. So yeah.
No, it's expensive grapes.
Yeah, they've got an expensive taste.
But yeah, it's a compromise. You've got wonderful old soil. You're very high up. It's a very beautiful, cool vineyard with a nice southwestly facing slope, and just produces absolutely magnificent wine. So if you have to give a little bit away to the baboons, so be it.